Again, this is where like going to college and that sort of stuff helps. If you can go to a professor and say, look, would you hire me if you were in, running a software company? Then, then again, you're probably in the right.
I actually have a small suggestion. I'm run the human resource department of an e-commerce firm here in the city, and I've had people, and I'd recommend this, that you consider them, they almost got the interview, but they didn't quite get it. Call the human resource department and ask why. Ask why you didn't get the interview. Ask what skills you need to improve on. I mean, worst could happen is the guy says, I don't have time, and hangs up the phone. But I mean, that's a huge insight right there as to why you didn't get the job.
We do that. I mean, at Microsoft, there's a very, very rigid and regimented hiring process, and you have to interview with like 5 or 6 different people, and they all write evaluations with you. And that's very important, so that you can justify the hire or no hire decision. And so that should all be available.
You had your hand up earlier. I was just wondering, do you think it's possible for high school and current high school developers to actually publish a game?
Self-publish a game?
Like just by sharing?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, the great thing about the internet is that anybody can publish anything. The difficulty, the cost that's associated with getting in the industry is trying to get retail shelf space and trying to produce something that's actually in a box you can walk into electronic TV and buy at retail. That's very, very difficult. If you want to do something, absolutely. In fact, I mean, that's where I think a lot of people on this panel came from, was, that they had just done things on their own. They put it out there, somebody noticed it. Again, that's how Richard got discovered, was that he just did really cool stuff. And I hear this all the time from people like John Romero and most of the names that you hear, that they hear about something really cool that somebody did, and they're like, oh, well, we got caught with that. So as far as doing that, especially as a calling card, then that's absolutely right. It's really hard for you, though, to produce something that you think you're going to go to somebody for in retail. That's where it starts to get awkward, and that's where you can apply all the tricks that we've been talking about here.
If you have a passion, though, you don't need shelf space as direct sales. You'll get it done if you want to.
Promotions are required, though. The promotion, you advertise it, get into the product scene. That's what really is going to make a difference. If you do have something that's worthwhile, trying to get your own publishing on the ground. That's where your biggest expense is. And again, that's why they said earlier, Microsoft was saying, that is the biggest expense, and that's why publishers incur the risk.
Yeah, I think one of the best examples of self-publishing something to me was CTF. I sat down and I wrote it and developed it, and I got various other people who were in the same position I was. They all wanted to get into the industry, and we all got together and I did the first level pack, 8 levels. Half the guys who built those levels currently work in companies like Iron Storm, Virtual, and all kinds of stuff. And that's because we were all in the same boat. We wanted to get together and build a product and put it on the net to get the recognition for it. And a lot of CTF work for me was not just writing the code and putting the maps together and doing the art. It was getting out there, emailing websites, emailing companies, saying, hey, there's a CTF product. Hey, there's hundreds of people, thousands of people playing this every day, and getting myself recognized. And doing interviews on shows like Quickcast and Real Audio interviews and stuff like that. Getting out there, promoting yourself, promoting your product, and saying, hey, this is what I can do. Hire it. And for me, it was very successful. It was successful for a lot of the other people that contributed to the CTF project. And that's basically how a big way to get into this industry is the net and promoting on the net and getting the recognition. If every game developer here reads those gaming sites every day, if you're on that site 3-4 times in a month, we'll see it and we'll start taking recognition.
Get ready for a lot of email Monday morning, Blue.
There's something that I always tell budding game developers or even journalists that want to break in, is that you got to find the fine line between persistence and annoyance. And it really is a fine line. But just everybody here on this panel has said how competitive the industry is, and it is, and how awesome the web is as a medium to get recognized and to find somebody's phone number or email address or fax number or page or whatever. But you break it up, and you got to understand, like, for every one of you guys, there's like cities all over the place that where people are also talking about doing the same thing. And unfortunately, there's some really talented people that just don't have the brass in their pants to get out there and not break down doors. And that's what's going to separate the people that get work, that don't. Maybe I'm exaggerating too much, but really, you gotta grab somebody by the collar, and make yourself known, because there are a lot of talented programmers and artists and animators and level designers that don't have the guts to email somebody a hit or a ritual or somebody, and they're the ones that get left behind. So aside from having talent, which obviously is something that's, needless to say, but you gotta get yourself known. And Mark touched on this earlier. Going to things like GamesCon, or trying to sneak into E3 or something like that, putting a face to the name is invaluable. Print up some business cards, carry some CDs with code, or carry a design document on a diskette or something. Putting a face to the name is so much more important, and then follow up. A week after E3, follow up with a phone call or email and say, hey, I met you at so-and-so. And that does a world of difference, because people get lazy with the internet now, because you can live in Tuktoyaktuk and make a game and email it. I don't know where I came up with that, but you can live in, well, let's face it, I live in Canada like you guys do, and that's an obstacle right there, because we can't easily get to so-and-so city. Like, we're not near Silicon Valley, and we're not near Texas in the heart of the 3D shooters, And so, I mean, it's like, you gotta do, and you gotta save up your money and go and meet face to face and follow up. And you're like miles ahead of everybody else if you can do that.
Actually, one of the things that you touched on that I think is really true is sort of the difference between pestering and being very proactive. And it's really simple, kind of how to determine which one you're doing. What you want to do when you talk to somebody in the industry is you want to go make the best presentation that you can. They're going to evaluate it probably fairly quickly, whatever it is that you presented to them. And then they're going to tell you yes or no. At that point, it's basically done, right? Trying to say, well, but you just don't get my vision. The conversation is over at that point. What you need to do is say, okay, you don't like what I did, or there's something I need to do. What is it that you don't like about it? Then go back and try to address whatever that issue is. That's what we all do with our products. That's what we do with DirectX. That's what we do with games, right? You put it out. Some people are not going to like your product. Some people are going to have a lot of issues with it. Instead of kind of saying, well, but you just don't understand. The thing that we all do is to say, okay, well, what didn't you like about it, and how can I, the next time I come talk to you, how can I show you that I did what you said I needed to do? And that's how you're persistent, right? You come back and you say, John Carmack, you didn't like my visibility algorithm last time because it had these problems. Well, I've addressed that. I've done this other thing. Well, it's still kind of silly. Okay, well, how's it silly now? Okay, thank you very much. And then you come back 6 months later with that addressed.
I think you'd be surprised at how receptive you'll get answers to those questions too. You present something to a name developer and they dismiss it and say, why? They'll probably get a nice, big, long conversation. Why? Because we like looking at new stuff. We like looking at things, and we see something that's interesting but has some problems. We'll probably tell you. I know a lot of people have emailed John Carmack and said, hey, a guy working on some new light program or something, and John sends them 4 paragraphs of what's wrong with it. I like that.
Well, we all respond to people who are, basically really trying to talk to us. I mean, we're all people and so on. However, there's one thing, like especially over the internet, make an effort. If you're emailing somebody, make an effort to actually, know who this person is. I mean, it doesn't even have to be like the top of the company. Talk to a level designer or an artist or something. Send them an email and talk to them direct. If it's very obvious, you're just like, going down the line and vomiting out like 100 messages out to everyone, or give an exact same pitch to everyone, and you don't know who you're talking to. We can read that in a second, and we're just tune out. If these people don't really want to talk to us, why should we really pay that much attention to them unless they've got something really awesome to show? So.
And never